All right, this new body cam video has just been released in the case of an 11-year-old little girl who was tased by an Ohio police officer. I gotta warn you, this is tough to watch and listen to. Or, yes, exactly what I said. It's tough to watch and it's tough to hear. Denisha Gowdy, this little girl, she's 11 again, she was suspected of shoplifting groceries when the officer tried to prevent her from walking away. Now, the department says now that, yes, the officer violated some policies, but it is not against their policy to use tasers on children as young as 7. The actual tasing itself wasn't caught on camera, but the aftermath was. Here's a portion of it along with the officer's comments that I want you to pay attention to.
I'm gonna call your mama. Come on, let's go. Sweetheart, the last thing I want to do is tase you like that. When I say stop, you stop. You know you called. Just stop. That hurt my heart to do that to you. Then I gotta listen to all these idiots out here in the parking lot tell me how I was wrong for tasing you. You broke the law, and you fled as I tried to apprehend you. You know what, sweetheart? This is why there aren't any grocery stores in the black community, because of all this is going on.
Oh, goodness, a lot to unpack here. Cheryl Dorsey is a retired police sergeant with the Los Angeles Police Department. She's also the author of Black and Blue. I went several colors as I heard the audio of this. First of all, am I wrong to assume that a laser, which is use of force, is to be used to stop a threat when someone is harming themselves or when somebody is about to harm someone else, including the officer or bystanders? Is that not what a taser is supposed to be used for?
So all use of force is supposed to be used to overcome resistance, right? And so resistance doesn't mean you're too fat, sir, to go catch an 11-year-old. That's not resistance. And so you don't get to tase somebody because they won't come here. We saw that in the case of Walter Scott. We saw an officer who couldn't catch him, so he pumped 8 rounds in his back. This is an 11-year-old child. If you don't have the physical ability or agility to catch an 11-year-old, something is wrong with you.
And by the way, if you follow the child, you can figure out where she lives and go to the house and talk to her parents and talk to her and then deal with it from there. Why is it that the child needed to be apprehended in the moment?
Well, listen, I mean, maybe if he would have just taken a couple of extra steps, he may have caught up with her. I don't know if cardio is the situation for him. But when you look at him physically, I understand why he couldn't catch her. But you don't get to tase somebody in that instance. And so what he did was over the top. It seemed like punishment to me. It seemed like, you know what, I can't catch you. But when I do, right?
Yeah, it did feel a little bit that way. I pushed back on playing the sound of this girl screaming in agony as they're removing the tase probes from her back, because I feel I can't submit you to that, listening to a child in agony. This is egregious. Should tasers be used on children? I mean, it sounds like this is within their policy. They can use it for children as young as 7.
Well, you know, there's policy and then there's common sense. And so while you may be able to tase a 7-year-old, why would you? I can't think of any reason as a mother and as a police officer why you wouldn't be able to take my child, why I wouldn't be able to take a suspect, even a 7-year-old, into custody without harming them using a taser. It wasn't to gain compliance. It seemed more about punishment. And he says, you shouldn't have run from me. You should have stopped. And then to exacerbate that more by telling this little girl that's why there aren't grocery stores in your community is just outrageous.
It's beyond the pale, to be perfectly honest. I think those comments, it shows poor judgment. The question that nobody seems to be asking is why an 11-year-old feels the need to steal groceries. There's a bigger issue here, and for her to get tased for being hungry,
well, that's a whole nother situation. And so empathy, compassion, relatability is not something you can teach an officer. Either you have it or you don't. And I understand from reports that this is not the first time that this officer has acted out in a way with someone who wasn't like him.
It's not. And you actually made the point earlier that, you know, this kind of overuse and excessive force, it has nothing to do with an officer's skin color.
Absolutely. It's officers who are drunk with power. And I often say that I can take race out of most uses of force. It's someone who's overzealous. It's someone who hasn't been dealt with appropriately, because this is not his first time. And so my hope is that the police chief will take the appropriate measures to get this officer out of the field and off the police department. He has clearly demonstrated that he doesn't have the skill set, the temperament to do this job. So when he shows us who he is, we need to believe him. Let's not wait till there's a death, till he pumps 8 rounds in the back of an 11-year-old because he can't catch her.
Good point. You know, a councilman in Cincinnati has also come forward and said, look, I'm a former police officer. You know, this guy clearly has some issues. We'll be following up on this, Cheryl. Thanks for being here.
Thanks
Good to
for
see you.
having me.